introduce her as I cue you up. Ms. Michaela Davis is our membership chair.
Good evening, everyone. Like I was introduced just recently, my name is Michaela Davis, and I do serve as the membership chair, and this is our membership / candidate mixer. So this is our agenda and what we'll be discussing and going over. I'll give you a few minutes to view over it. So with our vision with the NAACP, we envision an inclusive community rooted in liberation where all persons can exercise their civil and human rights without discrimination. Our mission is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. Here are our executive board members. We have our president, Jasponica Florence, our vice president, Leroy Davis, our secretary, Reverend Kendra Jacobs, and our treasurer, Nikki Walker. And as far as direct communication with our membership committee, our members are, of course, myself, the chair, Michaela Davis, Lakita Arrington Judkins, Aisha Sanders, Leroy Davis, Reverend Kendra Jacobs, and Jasmine Lawrence. So our goals as far as the NAACP, the 50/50 branch, and the membership committee. The NAACP is committed to a world without racism where Black people enjoy equitable opportunities and thriving communities. Our work is rooted in racial equity, civil engagement, and supportive policies and institutions for all marginalized people. The 50/50 branch is dedicated to serving the members in the Phoenix City, Russell County areas. We hope to be a beacon of hope and a place of comfortable refuge for those in need. Our goal as the membership committee is to provide resources on membership intake and help the members of the community to stay up to date with their membership status. Why you should join the NAACP. As a member, you'll make a difference each and every day in this fight and become a part of a vibrant community of people who stand for justice and equality. The NAACP relies on the commitment and dedication of our members to help us stand up to racial disparities that are still too prevalent in America. Your membership allows you to work with activists and organizers in local NAACP branches, organize marches, rallies, and direct action campaigns to bring attention to local issues, support access to quality education, healthcare, and economic opportunities, advocate for laws and policies to improve your community, participate. Here is information on how you can join and become a member today. Our adult annual membership costs $30 and the youth annual is $10. You can go to naacp.org/join-naacp/become a member if you are new. And if you would like to renew your membership, you can go to naacp.org/join-naacp/renew-your-membership. And the QR codes that are listed also will direct you to the websites as well. Do we have any questions?
member of the executive committee. Michaela serves as the membership chairman, and we thank her for sharing information here today about how to become a member as well as how to renew your membership. One of the things that we know is very vital is the NAACP is the oldest, the boldest, and the most active group in terms of bringing about social and economical changes within our community. We need you as members to help us support us in getting the message out, as well as all of the opportunities that we want to make our community the greatest place that it can be. We are also here for the purpose of talking to our candidates, those that chose to join us today, and allowing them an opportunity to share with us their platform and any other comments that they'd like to bring. At this time, we'd like to introduce to the podium candidate for the judicial position for place 1, the Honorable Jamie Graham.
Thank you. Good evening. It's good to see everybody. My name is Jamie Graham, and I'm running for Russell County Judge, District Court Judge, Place 1. That's a position that's being vacated by Judge Collins, who's moving up into Judge Bellamy's position, who is retired. My practice for 25 years here in Phoenix City and Russell County. Back up a little bit. I'm born and raised here. I'm 54 years old, and 50 of those years I've lived here in Phoenix City and Russell County. I'm married to Paula Graham. This coming February will be 31 years. And I have 2 children, Madison Graham, who's 25, graduated from Central, and JJ, who is 20, also graduated from Central. Madison graduated from Troy University, and JJ is at AUM right now. I graduated from Central High School in 1986, graduated from Troy in 1994, and then graduated from Jones School of Law in 1997. Started practicing law in May of '98 and have practiced ever since then. I'm in good standing with the state of Alabama and the federal courts here, so I can practice in federal court and any state and local court. My 25 years, 11 of those years I spent as a prosecutor here in Russell County. I served my community in that capacity. I enjoyed it. You get to meet a lot of people in that position. And then the other 14 years, I've been in private practice. I've practiced solo, and I've practiced with my brother and father, who are also attorneys here in town. During this course of time, I have prosecuted, handled, and resolved over 7,000 cases. 5,000 of those cases are in the court that I'm running for now. When I was in the DA's office, I had a lot of responsibilities with the district court, so I spent just about every week in front of one of the 2 district court judges. My experience, I feel, gives me the upper hand against my candidate. I'm also death penalty qualified, which means I can handle death penalty cases. And you can't do that in Alabama unless you have this certification. I'm also a certified guardian ad litem through the state of Alabama, which means I can look out for the best interest of children in legal cases and also elderly in legal cases. I'm also a member of the specialty courts that we have here in Russell County. We have 3 courts. We have drug court, Veterans Court, and Mental Health Court. I'm the attorney assigned to Mental Health Court. Since COVID, we have seen an upkick in mental health cases, and some of those cases result in criminal cases. So what we try to do is we give them an opportunity to get the case off their record, but they have to complete the program first. And part of that is getting on medication, staying on medication, and being productive again. These reasons, between the 2, I'm the only one that has extensive jury trial experience. And all these things, I feel, have prepared me to handle this position here in Russell County. Thank you. Any questions?
So I have one. Part of of the role of the NAACP, of course, is to ensure that there's equal justice among every person that comes before you. Talk to us about your history in terms of the types of cases that you've represented along socioeconomic or even along race lines.
So I've handled cases from traffic stops all the way up to capital murder cases. So I've handled everything criminal-wise in that range. I've also handled domestic cases, divorces, child support, and probate cases. You know, what I always tried to do as a prosecutor was be fair to everybody. It didn't matter if they were man, woman, white, black, Latino, Asian, it didn't matter. I felt like if I did something other than that, then I violated my oath as a prosecutor. As a judge, if I don't treat someone fair, everybody fairly, it doesn't matter what race or religion or gender they are, if I don't treat them fairly when they walk in the courtroom, then I violated my oath right out the gate, and I don't belong on the bench if I do that. You know, I don't know that I've ever handled any racially spurred cases in my career. You know, I know we have racial issues in our community. Fortunately, I haven't had to experience that or be a part of any negativity towards any race. So,
Tenille?
I have a question.
yes, sir.
In your capacity, should you be elected judge and you're dealing with mental health and drug court and veterans treatment court, when you send someone off for treatment and they come back and they relapse, what will you do? How will you deal with that case?
Well, currently, we expect a relapse. And even when I was in the DA's office, you know, prison and incarceration isn't for everybody. You know, there are people that need help. And I think the biggest thing, which I've enjoyed seeing with Judge Bellamy, is patience. When you know that relapse is coming, you almost expect, you know, we had a graduate the other day who didn't relapse. And I won't say her name, but she went through the program and didn't relapse at all. And that's rare. You know, that just doesn't happen very often. But we expect the relapses, so you have to be prepared for additional treatment. But as you know, the person has to want to get help first. If they're not willing to accept that they need the help, then it's just going to be a harder road. It's not the fact that you give up on them. You just have to try and find different ways to get to them to make sure that they can get on board with the program and get them better.
So what are some of the sanctions that you will use?
I would probably fall in line with what we're doing now. I think a day or two in jail, to some people, is an eye-opener. And, you know, they figure out they don't want to go back there anymore. You know, one of the interesting things that we're dealing with right now is we had some women leave a facility outside of our county that they were attending to get help. And we're at a situation of what do you do? We found out the approach that we took, which may have been an escape charge, we can't take. So we're going to have to look for other ways to handle those situations. You know, more intense programs, you know, if inpatient programs, and if the 30 or 45-day program doesn't work, then we have to find something a little longer. So, hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions for our judicial candidate, Mr. Graham?
Could you explain to us what exactly is this program that you're speaking of? Because a lot of people don't have a political background, so a lot of people don't know when you're discussing the courts or when you're discussing you're from one area or the next, and then you're talking about relapse prevention. So could you explain that to us a little bit more?
Okay, so the particular courts are set up if someone commits a crime, okay? And we can relate that the offense that was committed to either drug use, mental health, which means they have some type of diagnosis or they need to be diagnosed, and veterans. Of course, that kind of speaks for itself because somebody's been in the military. We also take active military, so it's not strictly for people that aren't in the military. But what it does, these programs try to get that charge removed off of them if we can. Okay, not every charge comes off of a person, but that's the goal, is to try and get that charge off of them so it doesn't affect their work or their family, their finances, something like that. So what we do is these programs were created to, and some of them are longer than others. I think the drug court program is probably the longest. It's roughly 18 months. And that's if you do it start to finish with not a lot of hiccups. I think mental health court is 12 months. So and it's different requirements that they have to complete. Now, all of them have to do community service. Some have to do more than others. The drug court people, they have to do drug classes. If they relapse, which, like I said, we kind of anticipate, we try to get them into further treatment and possibly inpatient treatment. Mental health is a tough one because most of the areas that treat people are somehow connected with East Alabama Mental Health. And we're having some issues getting people into their facilities through mental health courts. Not to say we're not going to be able to, but from most purposes right now, the people are going to private agencies for their mental health treatment. And a lot of it with mental health is staying on their medication. You know, the biggest thing that we run into, they take their medicine and they have the approach like it's cold medicine. Well, when you get, all your symptoms for your cold is gone, you generally stop taking the medication, right? Well, that's how they feel when they are on their medication and they hit what we call their baseline. They feel normal again. But they think, well, I don't have to take the medication anymore. I'm good. And so they'll stop taking the medication, and then they just kind of spiral down out of control. We do have to use jail from time to time. Sometimes it is for their betterment. And you wonder, well, how is jail for their betterment? Well, if they're resorting to, and this comes in Veterans Court too, if they're using other drugs or alcohol will counteract mental health drugs. Okay, so they can be taking their medicine correctly, but if they're drinking alcohol, it counteracts what they're taking. Veterans Court, you see a lot of self-medication where they're trying to hide pain, they're trying to deal with PTSD, they're trying to deal with these issues, and they'll go to other drugs to try and do that. So jail can, and we put somebody in jail recently, or at least the judge did, hoping to save their life. They were continuing to do drugs, put themselves in bad situations, and judge is holding a few right now until beds become available. Not really holding them out of a punishment situation, but trying to save their lives and get them into the programs they need to get into. And they're just like jails and prisons. They're all overcrowded. There's not enough facilities. So, and I'm gonna call him out here. Mr. Davis does a great job with trying to find facilities for the Veterans Court people. And we have other East Alabama Mental Health is actually trying to help us find other facilities that we can put people with mental health issues in, that's just all full. Like I said, we have several people in jail, and it's not out of punishment. It's to try and keep them from harming themselves until we can get them into facilities for treatment. That answer the question?
It does.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for our judicial candidate, the Honorable Mr. Jamie Graham? All right, we would like to give you an opportunity to give us a recap, maybe 30 seconds, of what you want us to leave the constituents with. November 8th is right around the corner.
It's 2 weeks from today. Not that anybody's counting. You know, I've been out in the community. I feel like I'm a part of Russell County. You know, I have so many family members that live out in the county. And I think the main thing is experience. The gentleman I'm running against, I feel like I know I have more experience than he does. And when you're in court, the amount of time that I have been, it prepares you for what you'll have to do as a judge. And I think that, you know, the 25 years being in the DA's office and being in private practice has prepared me for that. So that's what I would leave with. Yes. You know, we had a primary, this past primary, and the race was decided by one vote. And that teaches you and tells you that every single vote matters. So my pledge or request is to get out and vote. And I tell my son, if you don't vote, that's fine, that's you, but don't complain or say anything when you don't like what's going on in your town or the world. But if you do vote, then you can complain all you want to. But vote, I mean, use that right, you know, that's something that you have that nobody can keep you from using. So please, get out and vote, and I would ask for your vote as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We did have one additional candidate that did respond favorably for attending, and that is Cherie Reese. She's running for the State Senate seat, District 27. She is a Democratic nominee, and she is vying for that position with Jay Hovey, who is the Republican candidate for that seat. So she did bring some literature and apologize that she wasn't able to be here on this afternoon. As has been shared previously, the NAACP is a nonpartisan organization. We don't necessarily support one candidate over another, but we do like to always give those candidates an opportunity to come and present to us their platform, their ideas, and their thoughts. And so we are thankful that the Honorable Mr. Jamie Graham did come by to share face-to-face with us what his thoughts were, what his platform was, and to allow us to ask him questions to show not only his heart of the matter, but also where his ideas are in terms of giving the opportunity. So thank you again for coming. He shared something also that I wanted to reiterate. Last November's election, general election, which was the 2020 election for us, we had 63% voter turnout here in our nation. In our state, 63% turnout. Typically, Russell County has a little bit higher than that. But one thing that always, I'm not a numbers person. I tell my child I don't do math after 12 o'clock. So I'm not really a numbers person. I have to make it where it's simple for me. If you think about that 63% in terms of 100 people, 63 people made the decision for everyone. When we look at our local campaigns, and we know that local politics matter the most, when we look at our local elections and our turnout there, in terms of just the city elections that were held, there were only 35% or 35 people out of 100 people that made a decision for everyone as to who would be on the city council, who would be on the school board. It's important to realize that your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. It's important to realize that if you do not get out to vote, you do not get out to make sure that your voice is heard, then only a small select population of people who go to the polls and exercise their right to vote, they're making decisions for everyone. One of the things that we at the NAACP strive to do is we try to inform you. We want to thank CTV Bean for being here and for telecasting all of our activities as it relates to voter registration, voter education, and voter awareness efforts, because that is, again, something that they don't have to do, but they are able to help us get the message out. I was talking to a constituent earlier on my ride in, and she said, well, I don't know who is running. I don't know who to vote for. I don't know. I've not seen anyone on my television. She probably doesn't have Bean, but I did inform her that she can go to the YouTube channel and get that as well. But that's important because we've got to continue to make sure that our constituents are aware. And so I want to share just briefly what our sample ballot will look like. In this particular incident, again, talking specifically locally, we have a few contested races. Some years ago, the decision was made that if a candidate was running unopposed, the name didn't necessarily have to go on the ballot. But as it stands, our sample ballot will look as such. You do have the option to vote a straight ticket. That is still an option in Alabama. You can go in and vote a straight Democratic ticket. You can go in and vote a straight Republican ticket, or you can vote a straight Libertarian ticket. For governor, there are 3 persons that are vying for the position of governor of Alabama. We have Yolanda Rochelle Flowers on the Democratic ticket, Kate Ivey, who is the incumbent, on the Republican ticket, and then there is James Mr. Jimmy Blake on the Libertarian ticket. For the position of lieutenant governor for the state of Alabama, we have Will Ainsworth, who is on the Republican ticket, and Ruth Page Nelson, who is on the Libertarian ticket. There is no Democratic candidate in that race. For United States Senator, Will Boyd is on the Democratic ticket, Katie Britt is on the Republican ticket, and John Sophesalis, I may have said it wrong, but he's on the Libertarian ticket. Okay. For the United States representative in the 3rd Congressional District, you have Lynn Veazey on the Democratic ticket. They didn't make this large enough. On the Republican ticket, you have Mike Rogers. On the Libertarian, you have Thomas Cason, and then Douglas Bell is also in that particular race. For Attorney General, Wendell Major is on the Democratic ticket, and Steve Marshall is on the Republican ticket. For our state senator in seat number 27, we have Cherie Reese and on the Democratic ticket, and Jay Hovey on the Republican ticket. We have Supreme Court place number 5. Anita Kelly is running on the Democratic ticket, and Greg Cook is on the Republican ticket. We have for place 6 at the Supreme Court, Kelly Wise, only 1 candidate, and she is on the Republican ticket. For Secretary of State, there are 3 persons vying. On the Democratic ticket is Pamela Lafitte. On the Republican ticket is Wes Allen. On the Libertarian is James Shelby. And I will pause at the Secretary of State's position because you know that is the position that manages all of the elections for our state. So that is a very important and crucial position. For State Treasurer, Young Boozers on the Republican ticket, and Scott Hammond is on the Libertarian ticket. State Auditor, we have Andrew Sorrell on the Republican ticket, and Lee Lachine is on the Libertarian ticket. Commissioner of Agriculture, we have Rick Pate, who is the incumbent on the Republican ticket, and Jason Clark, who is on the Libertarian ticket. Public Service Commission, place 1, Jeremy Oden on the Republican ticket, and Ron Bishop on the Libertarian ticket. Place 2 for the Public Service Commission, Chip Beaker on the Republican ticket, and Laura Lane on the Democratic ticket. We also have Tracy West, who is representing District 2 on the State Board of Education. She has no competition, and she is on the Republican ticket. Then we have locally our judges here. As mentioned, Judge Zach Collins, Senior, he is on the Democratic ticket. He has no opposition for the position of Circuit Court Judge, place number 1. We have for District Attorney with no opposition, Rick Chancey on the Democratic ticket for the DA here in Russell County. For Judge, Circuit Court Judge, place number 1, we have again the Honorable Jamie Graham, and on the Democratic ticket, and his opponent is the Honorable Richard Cross Jr. on the Republican ticket. For place 2 judge here in Russell County with no opposition on the Democratic ticket, we have Judge Walt Gray III. For sheriff here in Russell County with no opposition on the Democratic ticket, we have Sheriff Heath Taylor. For Russell County coroner with no opposition on the Democratic ticket, we have Arthur Pee Wee Sunbury Jr. Russell County Board of Education, Democratic ticket, well actually the Board of Education doesn't have a place to clarify a position of Democratic or Republican, but we have Eugenia Upshaw for that position. And there are 10 amendments that will need consideration. We have reached out to other sources, and as mentioned, we are a nonpartisan organization, so we're not here to influence your rights on either. We're here to make you aware and to make sure that we communicate those ideas. You can definitely speak to Jasponica later, and I'll be glad to share with you my thoughts and ideas as to who I will help to continue to find their seats in their positions in the candidates forum. But the amendments, we're preparing a document that will be distributed on election day, and it will have our recommendations for all of the 10 amendments that have been proposed. Again, I have those available for you, so during our mix and mingle while we're eating, please feel free to come and look at that information as it is available to you. Alabama, as you know, does not do early voting. We do, however, do absentee voting. In order to obtain an absentee ballot, you may call and or visit the clerk's office, the Russell County Circuit Clerk's office, and our clerk is Ms. Jody Sellers, and she allows you to fill out the application when the documentation is presented and return that information. All requests must be made 7 days in advance because you have 5 days prior to the election in order to return your actual ballot. You can cast your ballot in person, you can cast your ballot absentee. Those are the options that we have here in Alabama. Again, that information is available. I'll be happy to continue to share it and make sure that our constituents know. Just because you're not physically able to go to the polls does not mean that you forfeit your right of doing so. You can still vote and cast your vote. One of the things that we like to say is have a plan. Have a plan for how you're going to actually get your vote out. Have a plan. Decide what time you need to leave. Polls are typically open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in your time zone. We have continued to have a concern or issue with that because we forget what time zone we're in. But it's open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in your particular time zone. One of the things that's important when you map out your plan is that you know where your polling place is. That is something that you can research in advance. I can help you with that today. We have laptops and computers that are available to help you if you want to become a member, if you want to find out your polling place. You can, of course, register to vote. However, you may not be on the ballot. That deadline has already passed. It was the end of September in order to have you to be able to be on the ballot, to be able to cast your vote in the November election if you had not already registered. But it's important for you to have a plan. One of the things that Unit 5050 does is that we offer rides to the poll. We post our 1-800 number. our general number so that you can actually call for a ride, your neighbor can call for a ride, anything in order to help you get to the polls. Traditionally, we are poll watchers. Myself and First Vice, we typically drive around to each of the polling precincts in order to ensure that there is no discrepancies or no issues. If you get to the poll, you've mapped out your plan, you've laid out what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it, you've worked it out, you realize that if you get to the poll and as long as you are in line prior to the polls closing, you can cast your vote. If you get to the poll and they tell you that your name is not on the register, meaning you are not either A, at the right polling place, or B, they do not have your name, there is an option still. You can cast a provisional ballot. That provisional ballot is acceptable and it is counted after the vetting process has taken place. So there are options. Don't just turn around and walk away. Know that you still have the option to cast your ballot should that be the case. Okay? So I know that I've shared some information with you. Our candidate has shared a lot of information. I am open to answering questions if you should have any now. So I'll pause for that at this time. Thank you all so much for coming out to be here. Although our numbers are small, I do recognize that everything is according to his plan. And so who is supposed to be here is here, and who is supposed to view and get the message will do so. At this time, we are open for a membership mixer. Our candidate is still here for you to ask him one-on-one questions if you feel more comfortable in that zone. And then, of course, we have some refreshments as well as some free items to give away. They're brought to us by
Black Voters Matter.
Black Voters Matter,
Women Run the Vote.
and Women Run the Vote. Okay, so we do have some free items that are here as well as some refreshments. And I'll call on my First Vice just in case there is something that I forgot to do.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Roy.
And we want to thank Madam President for all that she has done and got up and said. We also want to thank our Jamie Graham, who's currently running for judge. One of the things that the Madam President said was, remember our time zone. Now, here in Russell County, we go on Eastern Standard Time, but when you vote, we go on Central Time. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that when we vote on Central Time, because that's Alabama, state of Alabama time, okay? And as the Madam President said, your vote matters. That determines who and what you get in this county. If you don't go and vote, then you have no say. You have to hold your elected officials accountable. We have senators, 2 senators for this county. We have 3 House representatives. They determines what happens in our community. So if you want something to change, then you should not be afraid to talk to them. You should go and speak to them. Hold their feet to the fire. That's why you elected them. And that's all I have to say, Madam President.
Thank you.
Let's get up, move around, talk to our candidate, eat some food,
Yes, sir. And take some goodies.
take some goodies. And the cameraman will pan around and get your pretty face on television.
Thank you. And again, we want to thank our membership chairperson and committee for the membership mixer. Again, we want your membership, so if that's something that you came to do as well, please let us know so that we can get you signed up today.